मेरे 10th क्लास के मेमो में भी वैसा ही है. Hello, good afternoon, students. Welcome back to Botany first year's class. So till now we have finished all the SAQs from all the chapters and the LAQs of the 2 LAQs, that is coming from the 5th and the 7th chapters we have finished. And the VSAQs, maximum the where you need to learn, I have given from those chapters the VSAQs part also. And the other VSAQs, why I have not said, means those are the direct VSAQs, only theoretical part is there, so you can read from the material. So I have not explained that VSAQs of the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter and the 5th chapter, where you can learn very easily. Where there is a problematic one, how to solve, and you may have a doubt, so where I have given the explanation for those VSAQs of the 9th, 10th, 11th chapters. Okay. Now we will go with the, some students will learn the third LAQ, that is from the 12th chapter, anatomy part. So we will go with that. Draw the diagram very fast and how to go with the theoretical explanation, because when the diagram is very clear with the labeling part, the theory you can cut short. Okay, so the first one what we will see is the yeah, where it is going, I don't know. Visible? Right, right. Yeah. Now it's a proper PS of dipole root. So when we are doing this type of question in the LAQ, how to draw the diagram and how to label it and how fast we can go with the theory, that's the most important one. So first of all, draw the epidermis. Epidermis, the dicot root is having majorly 3 parts. What we have to write? It is the epidermis, cortex and the stellar regions. Okay. These are the root hairs. Okay, and below this will be the cortex, and the cortex that is present below the epidermis is of hexagonal cells without intercellular spaces. Why? Because this is the one which gives the extra support for the epidermis. The first two rows of the cortex. Make sure that here you have to draw the stellar region, and the stellar region should have the endodermis outside, easy to draw in a less time period. Okay, then it is having the dicot root now. Vascular bundles are 4, and below this endodermis is the pericycle, and now comes the xylem. See, size has to decrease when it is going towards the pericycle like this. And make sure the xylem is having a thick cell wall dead tissue. Double line you have to draw. Now a arc like this, here you will have to draw the phloem. Easy. And whenever we are drawing the phloem, remember the cells should not have the intercellular spaces. Without intercellular spaces, how you will draw, that's up to you, but the intercellular spaces should not occur over there. Okay, then this entire part is filled up with the simple parenchymatous cells placed without intercellular spaces. Very big cells if you draw, then the fill up can be done fast like this. I can do like that only. If that is a book, then even faster than this I can do, because here I need to say check it out that whether can you able to see the cells or not. So I am much bothered about that. When the book is there, no need for me to bother na, so I can draw very fast. Okay, and here the cortex circular cells with intercellular spaces. Draw fast, and all the cells should, don't draw the bigger cells and the smaller cells. And the same cortex cells should surround the stellar region. Done. Over. Now start giving the labeling part. These are the, this is a root hair, epidermis, general cortex, this is endodermis, below the endodermis is the pericycle, and this xylem, this smaller one is the protoxylem, bigger one is the metaxylem, and this part, what we have drawn an arc-like structure here, this is the phloem, and this central part is the pith, and above the phloem is the conjunctiva. Now come for the explanation part. The dicot root is divided into three major parts: epidermis, cortex, and the stellar region. Epidermis. The epidermis is a single layered, simple parenchymatous rectangular shaped cells placed without intercellular spaces. And this epidermis, some epidermal cells will start producing a unbranched thin hair-like structures, long hair-like structures called as the root hairs. These are the unicellular. Okay, and below the next one, and these root hairs are meant to fix the plant as well as to absorb the mineral water from the soil surface. Okay, and the next one, next heading is the general cortex. General cortex is again divided into cortex and the endodermis, and the some cortex cells that are present below the epidermis are exactly made up of the hexagonal cells and placed without intercellular spaces, and these cells will give the extra support for the unicellular epidermis. Okay, single layered epidermis, and the general cortex cells are passage of the water molecules from the root hairs till the stellar region. That's it. And the last layer of the general cortex, which surrounds the central stellar region, is called as the endodermis. And this endodermis is made up of simple parenchymatous rectangular shaped cells placed without intercellular spaces. See how I have drawn this. Okay, so this is the endodermis, and below the stellar region. Stellar region is again divided into three parts: pericycle, vascular bundles, and the pith area. Okay, first one is the pericycle. Below the endodermis, a simple parenchymatous rectangular shaped outflow of water. Okay, and this pericycle is the outermost layer of the stellar region, which can make the meristematic tissue, that is the cambial cells, during secondary growth of dicot root. Okay, inside the stellar region and outside the stellar region. Next comes the vascular bundles. Vascular bundles are made up of xylem and the phloem. Xylem is having 4 strands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is the xylem. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 strands of xylem are present. And this is, I am drawing the line, but you should not draw. Okay, this is xylem. The the xylem and the phloem are present in the alternate bundles adjacent to one another. So we can say their arrangement as the radial arrangement. Xylem, phloem, xylem, phloem. Radially, xylem and the phloem cells are arranged, and the xylem is a tetrarch condition. Xylem is in tetrarch condition. That means only 4 strands are present. That is the maximum one. Minimum 1 strand of xylem cells are going to be seen. And the metaxylem will be present at the center, and the protoxylem faced towards the pericycle. So, xylem is in exarch condition. Okay, and alternate to the phloem. And the xylem and the phloem are connected with one another with the simple parenchymatous conjunctive tissue. And the next heading is the pith. The pith is present in the center of the metaxylem cells, which may be showing a cavity, otherwise a very thin parenchymatous pith can be seen in the dichotous root. That will be seen with the plant to the plant. This much, whatever we have drawn, whatever, it's the same thing we can explain also. And now we will see the TS of monocot root. In the monocot root, the same thing. What we are going to draw. If I say the same thing, some people will do the writing part also like that, as per the same as per the monocot root, but we should not do like that. Okay. So the next one is TS of monocot root. Okay, so in this, what we have to draw? This is the epidermis. Again, the monocot root is divided into three parts. There is a epidermis, cortex, and the stellar region. Epidermis. Epidermis is made up of simple parenchymatous rectangular shaped cells placed without intercellular spaces. Some cells of the epidermis will start producing a thin hair-like structure called as the root hairs. And next comes the cortex. Cortex is again divided into general cortex and the endodermis. General cortex. Below the epidermis, general cortex will be present. The outer two layers of the general cortex are simply made up of simple parenchymatous hexagonal cells placed without intercellular spaces, so that they can give the extra protection for the single layered epidermis. And now comes the cortex. Cortex is made up of simple parenchymatous spherical shaped cells placed with intercellular spaces, and the cortex is more bigger than the dicot root cortex. Monocot root cortex is bigger than the dicot root cortex. And the last layer of the cortex is surrounding the stellar region called as the endodermis, which is made up of simple parenchymatous rectangular shaped cells placed without intercellular spaces. And now comes the stellar region. In the stellar region, it is again having the three parts: pericycle, vascular bundles, and the pith. Pericycle. Pericycle is the outermost covering of the stellar region, which is made up of simple parenchymatous rectangular shaped cells placed without intercellular spaces. And these pericycle cells, the lateral walls of some pericycle cells are having the thick superized walls, so that they can stop the outflow of the water from the central stellar region wherever the protoxylem is present. And the xylem is vascular bundles. Now the vascular bundles are present in the hexarch, that is the minimum 6 vascular bundles can be seen. 6 xylem cells, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First of all, you need to draw the 6 xylem cells and then metaxylem. And now comes as the protoxylem. You can draw the small cells now. Like that, we can draw the xylem in the monocotyledon. Easy. Practice it, practice it. Then only you will get the perfection. And these are the dead tissue xylem. So, double layer you have to draw. Now comes the phloem. Phloem is present in the xylem, and all the phloem cells are made up of simple parenchymatous cells placed without intercellular spaces. Okay, now comes the pith. And the pith is bigger in size and occupied with the simple parenchymatous cells, and the cells which are present above the xylem are having the sclerenchymatous conjunctive tissue. Sclerenchymatous conjunctive tissue will be present. That is the difference between the dicotyledon and the monocotyledon. Easy to draw now. These are the sclerenchymatous conjunctive tissue. That's it. Now we will give the labeling part. This is the root head, and this is the epidermis, cortex, endodermis, this is the pericycle, and this is the metaxylem, and the smaller one is the protoxylem. Then in between the xylem, phloem is present now. So this is the phloem, and above the phloem, this one is the sclerenchymatous conjunctive tissue. Sclerenchymatous conjunctive tissue. And this central part is pith area. So, how the vascular bundles are present? The pith is very large and the vascular bundles are present in the radially arranged manner, alternate to the one another, and the sclerenchymatous conjunctive tissue is present in between the xylem and the phloem, so that it gives the extra support for the vascular bundles. Okay, this much we have to say, and the xylem is metaxylem in the center and the protoxylem towards the endodermis or the pericycle. So xylem is in exarch condition. Okay. Now we have to go with the next one. That is the TS of monocot stem. If this was given, then how to draw the diagram? Okay, in the monocot stem, everything is in the green color. But here I am using the white color because black background where I can take the background also. Wait. So in the monocot stem, we have to draw the this monocot stem is divided into three parts. That is the epidermis, okay, cortex, and the stellar region. So the epidermis is made up of a simple parenchymatous rectangular shaped cells placed without intercellular spaces. Epidermis is covered externally with PC. ऐसा ऐसा चला जा रहा है. ये अच्छा, ये दिखा, ये भी अच्छा है. ये इसमें ऐसा चला जा रहा, मैं कुछ लिख रही हूँ वो कुछ आ रहा. केमिस्ट्री है तो डायग्राम्स आ गए. नहीं, मुझको ऐसा नहीं होना, उसके हिसाब से नहीं जाना, मेरे हिसाब से रहना. तो इसके पहले का आप वो भी ले लो. हाँ, नहीं आ रहा. अब तक जो डायग्राम पता ही नहीं आया, आया ना. इस पे नहीं, ब्लैक बैकग्राउंड इस पे, ये कुछ और कहीं का और चला जा रहा. डायग्राम ही नहीं आया आपको. अरे ये इसमें लिख रही हूँ तो देखो. PS of monocot stem. So in this, we have to draw. If you are going to use the colors, then use the green color for the cells. Okay. So this is divided into three parts: epidermis, cortex, and the stellar region. So the epidermis is the single layered epidermis made up of simple parenchymatous rectangular shaped cells placed without intercellular spaces. And all these epidermal cells are having the chloroplast to do the photosynthesis. Now, this epidermis is covered externally with a thin cuticle. Okay, thin cuticle. Now comes the, and here trichomes, that is the hair-like structures are completely absent. Now comes the cortex. Cortex here, we cannot say them as the cortex because that is called as the ground tissue. In the monocot stem, cortex zone is completely absent and called as the ground tissue. Ground tissue is divided into two parts. The tissue that is present below the epidermis is made up of sclerenchymatous tissue. Two rows of cells are made up of sclerenchymatous tissue, and these are meant for to give the extra support. So this is called as the hypodermis. Hypodermis. Sclerenchymatous cells now, so we have to draw the one more inner layer also in it. Now comes the general cortex, that is called as the ground tissue. Now ground tissue is simply made up of parenchymatous cells which are having the unequal sized cells, and before that we need to draw the vascular bundles, and the vascular bundles are one over here and one big vascular bundle here. Two vascular bundles are sufficient, and inside the vascular bundles draw the xylem, metaxylem, and the protoxylem, xylem cavity. Here also metaxylem and the protoxylem, xylem cavity. Now comes the phloem. Phloem is always present in the yellow color. Okay, like this. Like this phloem. Now this entire part should be filled up with the sclerenchymatous tissue. Because those are the bundle sheath cells will be present in the sclerenchymatous tissue. And they draw very fast this one. this much. So done. Like that, in this also, we need to fill up the cells. Make sure that you draw the hexagonal mark. Okay. And this entire part now filled up with the simple parenchymatous chlorophyllous cells. Now, is this clear for you? And all are in the oval shaped cells, are the spherical shaped cells. Very fast you have to finish off this diagram, because diagram makes our answer worthful. Okay, when we are drawing the diagram, don't take much time in drawing the diagram itself. Draw it very fast in such a way that if anyone see this diagram also, they should feel that yes, they have done it nicely and they have written all the parts with the labeling. When we are doing the labeling, that means we have done maximum work over here. Okay, now comes the labeling. So in this is the cuticle. This is the epidermis. Epidermis, and this is the hypodermis, and this is ground tissue, and this is the bundle sheath, and these are the metaxylem, and this smaller one is the protoxylem, and below the protoxylem the empty space is called as the xylem cavity. Okay, and this is phloem. Okay, now everything was over, and this is the vascular bundle. Now what we have to write? Once we have done with the epidermis, cuticle, hypodermis, ground tissue, now in the ground tissue vascular bundles comes, the third part. The vascular bundles are present in the scattered manner in the monocot stem in the ground tissue itself. So here the smaller vascular bundles are present towards the hypodermis, and the bigger vascular bundles are present placed towards the center of the monocot stem. So this type of arrangement is called as atactostele. Atactostele. Okay, whenever you are writing this, underline the word atactostele. And the vascular bundles are oval shaped, and the xylem and the phloem are present one above the other in the same radii. So that is the conjoint, collateral and closed type of vascular bundle. Why? Because the cambial cells are absent in between the xylem and the phloem, and they are present one above the other in the same radii. So conjoint, collateral and closed type of vascular bundles. Okay, so the vascular bundles are conjoined, collateral, closed type of vascular bundles. Okay, and the xylem is made up of 4 cells, 2 metaxylem and the 2 protoxylem cells, and the 2 protoxylem cells will fuse together to form 1 protoxylem and 1 xylem cavity, that is the xylem lacuna. And the phloem will be present above to this, that is faced towards the hypodermis. Always the phloem will be present. And in this one, the cortex is absent in the monocot stem, and the pith is absent, and the cambial cells are absent, as it does not go with the secondary growth in it. So this is the monocot stem, what you have to write. Okay. And in this, don't forget to say about the metasteel conditions. That is the most important one in the monocot stem. Okay, and after this, we have finished the maximum one. Only the dicot stem was left out. In the dicot stem, how to make this? So the dicot stem is having the PS of dicot stem. So I will go very fast so that I can explain this, how to draw and how to answer the question paper also. At the last, I want to discuss that. Okay, dicot stem is divided into 4 regions: epidermis, cortex, and the 3 regions: epidermis, cortex, stellar region. Okay, so the epidermis is having the simple parenchymatous just like that, and it is covered with the thick cuticle. Epidermal cells will start producing the trichomes cells. Okay, biseriate multicellular trichomes are present. And now comes the cortex. Cortex is divided into 3 parts: hypodermis, general cortex, and the endodermis. And now comes the hypodermis. Hypodermis is present below the epidermis. 2 rows of the cortex is made up of, sorry, these are the collenchymatous hypodermis is present. That means the intercellular spaces will be filled up with the cell wall thickenings. Like this, the hypodermis is present. Collenchymatous hypodermis, and below the hypodermis is the general cortex. All the cortex cells are placed in a, all the cells are simple parenchymatous spherical shaped cells placed with intercellular spaces, and these cells are the cortex is having the 6 to 8 rows of cells. Okay, and the last layer of the cortex is the endodermis, and the endodermis is wavy in nature. Okay. And next comes the xylem. Like this, the xylem, metaxylem and the protoxylem. Okay. And here also metaxylem and the protoxylem. Next comes the, after the xylem, phloem will be present. And here below the endodermis is the pericycle. Pericycle is here made up of two types of cells. One is the sclerenchymatous pericycle and parenchymatous pericycle. Sclerenchymatous pericycle is present near the ridges and the grooves. Parenchymatous pericycle is present. Okay, and below the pericycle will be the phloem. Phloem is made up of simple parenchymatous hexagonal cells. And between the xylem and the phloem, it will be having the cambial cells. And this is the phloem. Now here xylem will be present. Metaxylem and the protoxylem. Metaxylem, the size need to be decreased so that we can draw the protoxylem very clearly. Okay, and in between this, the two xylem strands, entire cells are filled up with the parenchymatous, sorry, sclerenchymatous cells placed without intercellular spaces. Okay, now comes the rest one will be the in this area. What are the other cells? These are nothing but the medullary ray cells. It's visible. Okay, below this will be the pith or medulla, and here now the cortex, general cortex, where we left out now. See, intentionally I left some space over here. What to do? I will say right now. Which color I need to take? Take this. Okay, so these are the ones. So this is the trichome, cuticle, epidermis, hypodermis, and general cortex, and this is the resin duct, and baby endodermis, and this is the pericycle, cambium, cambium, and now this is the phloem, this is metaxylem, and this is protoxylem, smaller one, okay, and this is medullary ray, okay, like this, the whatever we are explaining, same thing. And once we come with the endodermis, last layer of cortex is the endodermis, which is wavy in nature, and it is having the ridges and the grooves. Below the ridges the vascular bundles are present, and the vascular bundles, the central stellar region is having the pericycle, that is made up of the two types of cells, sclerenchymatous and the parenchymatous, and it looks like a patch like structure. And the below the, and now comes the vascular bundles. The vascular bundles are having the xylem and the phloem, which are placed one above the other in the same radii, called as the conjoint collateral open type of vascular bundles. And the xylem is endarked xylem. Metaxylem faces towards the pericycle, protoxylem faces towards the central pith area. And the in between the xylem and the phloem, a meristematic tissue, cambium tissue is present, okay, which will meant with the secondary growth, and the medulla will be present over here, which is simply made up of the parenchymatous. Needs the main function is to store the excess amount of water and the food material, and these medullary cells will be going in between the vascular bundles, called as the medullary ray. Okay, so with this we have finished off this part of the dicot stem. Now we have to go with the how to write the exam and how to get the good score, and for the improvement exams as well as for the supply candidates. Okay, so whenever you got a paper, turn the paper and have a look on the LAQ part. LAQs, we have specific chapters, specific LAQs. Read those questions, then read the SAQs. Now start answering the SAQ part. Now don't read the VSAQs, only SAQs. Whatever you know, you have to give the same number according to the question paper. Okay, section B. That is a section B, that is 11th question onwards will be having till 18th question. Okay, so in that 6 questions you need to answer whatever you know very well. First of all, answer that SAQ, then keep on going with the SAQ chapters, SAQ questions. Then the VSAQ part you have to start. Then section A, write all the VSAQs, and in that you should not write in between the two SAQs one VSAQ. Might be sometimes they may overlook, so don't take any chances like that. Okay. Then at the last you have to attempt the LAQ part, which is somewhat lengthy if this type of questions you are opting to write. So be sure that time should be enough for us to write the LAQs and the SAQ parts. Okay. So with this we have completed all the questions and the SAQs, LAQs and the VSAQs, and don't panic and go relaxedly, and all the best. So today is the last day for this supply classes, online classes. So be sure that you have to prepare very well, and thank you.